Music matters. Pariah Pete, how you feeling, man?
Hey, I'm good, you know what I'm saying? It's Pariah Pete, a.k.a. Pariah like Mariah with the P, out here in the flesh, you know what I'm saying, in North California.
Yeah. This is take two. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty.
This is take two.
But you were talking about where Pariah came from? Go back into that.
Yeah, so basically, like, Pariah is rooted in the Indian caste system, like how they, like, from years ago, I learned this in history, just like how they separated their classes and whatnot. And Pariah was, like, on the lowest of like, the totem pole. And pretty much, like, it just, the modern representation of it now is, like, being an outcast in society. And that's, like, the reason why I really started making music. Just because, like, all the schools that I was going to and, like, in my social group and whatnot, like, I always kind of felt like an outcast. I kind of felt like I was on the outside looking in a little bit. So when I started making music, that's, like, the first community that, like, I really felt like a part of and, like, fully embraced and accepted, like, for who I am, like, thoroughly. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's Pariah Pete, you know what I'm saying?
Was there a community of people, like, in Phoenix or Arizona where you grew up, like, that kind of embraced you musically?
Yeah, so, like, a big part of it, before I was, like, a solo artist, really, because now I'm a full-time solo artist, I was a part of a rap group called 20 Pounds,
okay,
with Jalopy Bungus, Mastermind, Shrubhead, Skates and Knowledge Nick, Crust, Skates and Knowledge Nick, I think I said everyone. It's 7 of us. But really, when I dropped my first song ever July 7th of 2016, and then I submitted to be a part of this, like, Arizona Cypher that Jalopy Bungus was hosting. And through that cypher, I literally met everyone. Like, everyone that was, like, kind of like the people I'm talking about that, like, fully embraced me and, like, accepted me or whatever. Like, those were all the people in the cypher. So, yeah, there's a huge community out there for sure.
So you entered that cypher solo or with your group?
Yeah, so I entered solo. I had only had 2 songs out at the time. And then I made it into, like, the top group because he picked, like, the top 16 best, like, MCs. And I made it into group 1. With the top 4, with Knowledge Nick, Shrubhead, and Mastermind, all people who later became a part of 20 Pounds, the collective. So yeah, it was fucking crazy, like, how that worked out.
Do you still kick it with those people?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are my brothers for life, for real. We are no longer a part of the collective anymore. Now we're all just, like, doing our own solo thing.
Yeah, I mean, good for you. I mean, it's cool. There's no, like, ill will. I feel like I talked to a lot of people about this, how people assume that, like, when a group or a band, like, goes separate ways, there has to be some kind of ill will, but it's like, in reality, sometimes people just grow up and go separate ways and want to pursue things in their own fashion, opposed to be, like, being anchored down to a group. How is making music for you by yourself opposed to collaboratively? Like, are there any pros that come with it?
Yeah. Well, so a lot of it was just, like, based on, like, my evolution as an artist. So when I was a part of 20 Pounds, I was 17 years old. I was, like, the least experienced in the group. They had all been rapping for, like, so much longer than I have. And so it helped so much being a part of that for the first 2 years of, like, my, like, real career or whatever, because they're such gifted MCs and they pushed my pen so much. So when I was in the studio with them, like, I was like, I had to come up with the bars. Like, I had to fucking really push my pen. So it helped so much, like, from a lyricism standpoint, and really just, like, it was like boot camp. Like, every single day was like boot camp. But what I found, and I think what everyone kind of found when we all went solo, was, like, we could all just, like, put all the energy that we were once putting into the group into ourselves as individual acts, and then really, like, transcend from that moment on. So now I put so much time into, like, the lyricism and the bars and whatever. Like, now I'm, like, really working on just, like, trying to make the best music, like, possible, like, the musicality.
Were you making music by yourself before the group?
Yeah, dude. So I wrote my first song in, like, 4th grade, and then I put out a couple songs, like, I put out one song 10 years ago. That's still on SoundCloud. You know what I'm saying?
10 years?
Yeah. 10 years ago. I was, like, fucking 11 years old. I'm 21 now. So, so I was doing that for a fucking minute, and then I was kind of, like, writing a lot when I was in high school, like, freshman, sophomore year, just, like, by myself. Like, only some homies knew. I really wasn't, like, that public or, like, flaunting it that much. And then, like I said, I put out my first song when I was, like, 17 years old. So
at that point, were you like, I want to do this as a career, or was it just, like, on some fun shit?
I mean, it was kind of always in the back of my mind as, like, doing it as a career. Like, it's something that, like, I've always kind of worked on manifesting, truly. Like, before I wrote my first song ever, like, I was in the mirror, like, with the microphone and, like, pretending to, like, perform on, like, stages and shit. Yeah. So it's just always been the idea, and I remember there was just a day where it clicked, and I was just listening to, like, MF Doom beat Special Herbs, you know what I'm saying? That's, like, really, like, the foundation of my
inspiration.
Music. Yeah. And I was listening to that when I was on the bus home from school, because I used to take 4 public buses and then walk 4 miles every single day to and from school, just my entire sophomore year of high school. And so I remember one of the days when I was on the bus, I was like, bro, like, I've always loved this shit so much, and this has always been my passion. Like, I just need to really start doing it. And so I started going home every single day and just writing a verse every single day. And then I slowly built like a home studio. And I was recording by myself for like an entire year or two before I ever put out my first song. And I was just showing the homies and like just trying to get like feedback from like what people think. Like obviously like I would never want to put out my first song ever recorded. Even though I kind of did that 10 years ago. But like this was like a new version. Because I've went through like 3 different phases of my career with like the names and shit.
What were the first names?
They're so bad, bro.
Dude, I love these stories.
So
I love
bad.
hearing about people's like names when they were like 12 years old trying to make music.
Yeah. So when I was in elementary school, bro, my rap name was Big P.
Let's go.
Big P, bro. Big P.
Big P.
Yeah. A handful of people in my life know about that shit. And then it evolved a little bit. And then in middle school, my rap name was PD Royal. You know what I'm saying? And then it evolved eventually into Pariah Pete.
So you've always had a love for this stuff?
Yeah, dude. Rap was like the first, like music was really the first thing I ever fell in love with at like such an early age. I'm the youngest of 5, and all my family like immigrated for the most part from Poland. And so they were all much older than me. Like my siblings were like 16, 17 years old when I was first born. And so just think about like what 16, 17-year-olds were listening to in 99, 2000. Like they were listening to 50 Cent, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Ludacris, fucking Lil Wayne, Nelly, Neo, like some R&B shit. And so I really just fell in love with music at such an early age. And then I was already like sharing the same iPod playlist like with my sister and stuff. And so that was just like the first thing that I really fell in love with and kind of what I always envisioned myself doing. And now I'm doing it.
Were they listening to the same stuff as you growing up? Like, did you guys share music and swap and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, so like my sister really put me on to like all the original rappers that I like listened to, like all the names that I just listed. And then once I had access to like YouTube, I just became a student of hip hop. Like I just went back and did all the research possible. Because I'm a student first, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I try to be a scholar in hip hop because it's so important to like know the roots, you know what I'm saying? And so just uphold the craft to the highest possible fucking extent and shit. So I went back, I did all the research. I fell in love with like really like the essence of my sound was like really like 90s like New York rap. And I really fell in love with that. And then over time it's like evolved a little bit and shit. So
yeah, like dude, there's so many that's actually funny. That's like a lot of where like my love for hip hop came from too. It was like a lot of early 90s New York East Side rap. Like a lot of Tribe Called Quest, a lot of Wu-Tang, a lot of just boom bap, like original stuff like that. That's same for me, because I didn't grow up with hip hop in the household. I grew up with I grew up with a lot of reggae in the household. I grew up with a lot of classic rock, and then I kind of just found hip hop probably because of the people I was around, but also just like on my own accord through the internet pretty much. Like I feel like you could probably relate to this. I feel like I definitely was raised by the internet in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I think everyone our age is 100% raised by the internet. But I think I made the perfect cutoff point, even though I'm only 2 years older than you, so I'm 21. But, like, I was at the point where, like, I kind of got to grow up with the internet. Like, I never made, like, my first real social media accounts until I was, like, in 8th grade or, like, freshman year of high school. So I'm just happy that, like, I got to have, like, somewhat of, like, a regular childhood where I was just outside and fucking airsofting and shit and just like riding around on my bike and like fucking walking through like grocery stores doing absolutely nothing, just like causing a ruckus, you know what I'm saying, being a little piece of shit. But I'm happy that, and like I'm grateful that I had that experience to like really be like a child and not just be like on my fucking phone all day or my iPad. Like I be going out to restaurants nowadays and motherfucking kids are just on their iPads and shit. I'm like, whoa.
I work at a restaurant and there's like, I'm about to put these people on blast, I'm sorry. But there's this one.
Motherfucker's getting called out. We're only 10 minutes in.
There's this one family and it's like a mom, I assume it's a mom and a dad, but it's like a mom and a dad and there's like 3 kids.
Yeah.
And they come in, it's like every single weekend they come in. And these kids all sit on their phones with headphones in, say nothing. Yeah. Their parents order for them. And it's not like they're like little kids. Like they're like 16. One of them's probably like 10. The other one's probably older. Like the other one's probably like 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. But they just sit there on their phones with headphones, not talking to their parents. And it's like, it kind of makes me sad, to be honest. Because it's like, as much as I do have a lot of respect for like the internet and what opportunities it's given people, myself included. I feel like what I'm pursuing and what I'm chasing would not be possible without the internet. Absolutely. But at the same time, I feel like there's such an important balance that we have to maintain between like real interactions and real conversations and networking through the internet.
Facts. Everything that you just said, you know what I'm saying? Double it up on my end. Like, I 100% agree with you. Because especially with like the whole, I mean, with the way life is changing now, I feel like things are getting like even further like more disconnected than ever. And that's a scary reality. So I be trying to keep it real, you know what I'm saying, in person, and have those interactions be like far more valuable than whatever I'm messaging someone.
Do you ever have like trouble balancing that?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, I spend so much of my time on social media, like, just because I have to. Like,
I was gonna say, there's so many artists that I talk to that feel that same way. It's like they want to disconnect more than they can, but you have to have some kind of presence on the internet if you want to be an artist.
Yeah, I'm really lucky and grateful to, like, since I've just been doing it for so long, like, my following on the internet has just grown so organically for so long. So it's like now I like feel the need, like when I right now I'm on fucking vacation, bro. Like, I'm not worried about posting, I'm not worried about tweeting out, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not worried about any of that shit. And I know whenever my time is to like return to social media, like I know that I have that like following and like genuine foundation there, like waiting for me. Like, I feel like a lot of artists nowadays who are like, I don't know, like if you just started like 6 months ago, like it probably is so much pressure to be like, oh, I have to be posting every single day, I have to be tweeting every single, I have to make a TikTok for everything.
People's
like,
minds.
Yeah, like, and I feel like a lot of people like might get caught up in that, and like that might exhaust them. Like, you need to find your own pace. Like, everyone has like a different brand and something that works, but stuff works differently for different types of people. The prime example is like a lot of motherfuckers like think that like you need to post on social media every day or you need to release a song every single week, and realistically that's gonna work for some sort of people, and then some people like fucking Frank Ocean or whatever. I know that's like
just gonna say that.
I know that's like an exaggerated comparison because he's a megastar.
I don't even think it is though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, he found his own way where he hasn't released an album in what, 4 years, and we're still talking about him right now. You know what I'm saying?
You literally took the words right out of my mouth. That's the example I always point to. It's like that guy has somehow managed to make people talk about him by disappearing.
Yeah, well, by making great art.
Yeah. Well, no, obviously, first off, but it's like he really like busted through like the notion that you have to be posting every day and be in people's feed for them to even like talk about you.
Yeah. So yeah, like I can't even imagine what it's like to be like an independent artist who's like just starting off right now, who like feels that pressure, because that shit would probably exhaust the fuck out of me. Like I said, like I'm at the point now where I've been doing it long enough where it's like I found my rhythm, I found my speed, and everyone has that differently. Like, everyone has their own pace. I think for my brand, it makes more sense like quality over quantity, like releasing a project every few months and then really putting my all into it, and then going back and just being on my regular human shit, and then coming back when I need to. Like, and then I have other homies who are like, I mean, constantly putting out content, every single day putting out freestyles, and it works well for them. So it's like you just need to figure out what works well for you, and everything doesn't have a fucking formula to it. Like, there's not like a guaranteed way for it to like pop off or succeed. You might create one TikTok and it blows up. You might create fucking 362 and that one pops off. Like, you never know. So.
And that's a funny thing with like social media and the internet in general, is I feel like these people that try to claim that there's kind of like a formula to this shit, or there's like a way to do it, that's the idea that's just a scam, because you can blow up in a million different ways. The most important thing is that somebody cares. If somebody cares about what you're doing, then you will have a following. Yeah. And I think there's a million different ways to get people to care about what you're doing, get people to actually want to follow and, you know, take value from what you're doing. So I don't think there's one formula that would make you blow up on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I just try to use social media like as wholesomely as possible. Like, I literally just use it to stay connected with people. And for, you know, during times, especially during COVID, when people weren't seeing me face to face, they weren't coming out to my shows or whatever, to just like keep people entertained and really just stay connected with people. So I try to use it to spread my light, my love, and like spread my brand. Like, I don't use it for anything else. Like,
does it help to have like a very large, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but pre-COVID, I know you were selling out shows and you had like a very big following.
Hey, still selling out shows, you know
what I'm saying? Still selling out shows.
I had a sold out show last weekend, gang.
Yeah. What I'm saying, like pre-COVID, you had like a large live following. Do you feel like some of that live following was able to kind of take some of the pressure off you to be so present on social media?
Yeah, for sure. Just like more than anything, just like the organic foundation that I have beneath me. It's just like I have thousands of people, probably fucking more people than I could even imagine, that like genuinely love and genuinely care about me, like as a human first. And that shit I'll never take for granted, because I mean, I'm lucky enough to have that. So yeah, pre-COVID, I was going through time periods where like summer of 2019, when I dropped my last album, Mercury, I did not need a job. Like, I made all my money off that show. I made money off merchandise, and I was able to just live full time as an artist and just live that life and embrace it. And that was fucking awesome. And then I was also gearing up to do that early 2020. I had another sold out show. I had opened up for Doja Cat, and I was hand selected by the radio station by 101.1 FM to open up for Doja Cat. And then I had multiple other like opening slots lined up. And I thought, I was like, oh, like this is my big break moment. Like I'm about to go open up for this, and that. This is gonna be massive for me. And then COVID shut everything down and shit. But
damn, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
Was it hard dealing with that, like getting income from music to going to a place where you couldn't just do that and only do that?
Yeah, I mean, that fucked with, like, my mental more than anything. Just because, like I was saying, like, I felt like it was my moment. And I know so many people could relate. Like, everyone, like, had their moment. And, like, I mean, I've heard so many people say, like, oh, and then COVID fucked it up.
Me too, man.
Yeah, like, that's kind of, like, that's the common denominator with, like, all creatives right now. And granted, COVID fucked up a lot more worse things, you feel me? It's taking lives and taking businesses and shit. So it's like, who am I to say, oh, fuck me up? But at the same time, definitely my whole trajectory, like, completely shifted. But the live presence is still very much there. I just sold out Crescent Ballroom last weekend with Fear of Making Out and Saya for the fucking family reunion. It was, like, my first show back, like, since COVID and shit. My first real show back since COVID. That was 520 people, completely sold out. We sold it out in 13 days. I physically I don't know if you've seen this on my social media. Yeah, I like physically deliver all my tickets and shit. And yeah, so it's just like that. Clearly, like people were so ready to go out and see live music again. So it's like the moment I announced it, everyone was trying to go to that.
Why? What was the idea behind physically handing all the tickets? Was that a kind of a marketing idea?
So that started with like 20 Pounds and Jalopy Bungus, like way back in the day. They've always kind of done that, and so they kind of implemented it into like, because my first headlining shows, like my first real shows, were with them, and so I was already like creating like a little bit of buzz. Like my first show, like my first couple shows ever, I was bringing out like 25 people, which some people like never bring out 25 people. So it was like,
I've been to those shows where people expect to have 20 people and you get 2.
Yeah. And so as soon as we got the tickets, it was Jalopy and like 20 Pounds' idea to like really like take the pictures with everyone. And that was like the marketing thing that like completely, like the show's constantly marketing itself, because, you know, if I take a picture with Sabrina, and Sabrina posts on her social media, oh, gonna go see Pariah Pete live, July, yada, 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 August, whatever, like hit him up for tickets. And that marketing thing was just like something that was implemented into my career so early on. And what I've done for all my sold out shows, like for all my bigger shows, I've always physically hand delivered tickets. So at this point, it's like expected. But at the same time, during COVID, my following grew so much, and there were so many people that didn't know me pre-COVID, and they didn't know that I do the whole physical ticket delivery. So when I did it this time around, I had all my A1 day ones from back in the day that were like, oh yeah, Pete's gonna pull up to my crib and sell the ticket, and we're gonna take a picture, and we're gonna like chit chat for like 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. And then I had all the new people who just started following me, who are like, oh, what the fuck? Like I have an opportunity to like meet someone I really fuck with. Like that's dope. And that was truly dope, because I got to meet a lot of new people like for the first time, like just delivering these tickets. Because some of them are like people I know, some of them are just homies, some of them are people who've just been buying tickets from me for years. Some of these people are just like buying tickets for them and their friends, and then some people just like I've never met, I have no idea who they are, and they just hit me up on Instagram. They're like, yo, I want a ticket to your show. And I'm like, bet, drop the addy, I got you.
I'm gonna be honest with you, that's genius. That is so smart, because that is like, I cannot think of a better way to build a scene than physically meeting every single person. Because here's the way I think about that, right? Like, when I saw that on your social media, it blew my mind. Because first, I've never seen anybody who did that. I've never heard of that. And it's like, I'm always thinking about, like, how do you get people to come back to a show? I talk about that with so many artists. I talk about, how do you get somebody to come to your show and then leave that venue saying, damn, that was so dope. I'm going back. Next time that person plays in my city, I'm going to be there. And I can't think of a single better way to do that besides the fact that, like, you know everybody in the crowd. If they can look up there and say, damn, that's Pete. I remember me and Pete had a dope conversation about the street I lived on, or a dope conversation about the shirt I was wearing. I want to go see him again. Yeah,
it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? This is just the life I live, you feel me? I'm just chilling, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, it's something that's like truly special and beautiful. I mean, for this show, I sold like 300 tickets physically in 13 days. So that was like, I mean, on top of like working my day job and shit, I'd get off work and then post on my social media, yo, I'm doing deliveries from 3 till whenever, hit me up. And I would just start going out there, and like Phoenix, kind of like we were talking about earlier in the conversation, is so big, bro. So it's like literally like for one of my deliveries, I was from the example that I brought out earlier. I went from East Mesa to Avondale. It was an hour and 5-minute drive, bro, just for a ticket sale. But that's the thing is like when I go into marketing one of my shows, it's really, that's like the top priority is selling it out, especially because I set such high expectations upon myself. And like I've already set the standard for my shows to sell out. Like I said, like that was my 6th sold out show. That was my 2nd time doing Crescent Ballroom sold out. So I just put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm like, I'm gonna go get this, like no matter what the fuck it takes. And there was one day where I was in my car for 16 hours, bro, delivering tickets for 16 hours. But it's beautiful, it's special, I love to do it. Granted, like I put my work over my health, you know what I'm saying, sometimes. And I'm definitely...
Most people who win do, though.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on
No, I don't know about that. Maybe that's not true, but...
Yeah, I don't know, man. But, yeah, it was definitely grueling, like, from the physical aspect. That's why, like, this trip has been so dope, just because I've been able to just fucking chill, bro. Because literally every single day up leading till the show, like, even the show day, like, I had no rest day. So I went from delivering tickets every single day, and then I had to go play the show, but then I also, like, booked it. So it's, like, I'm wearing so many different hats. And, like, as of right now, like, I don't have, like, a contractual, like, manager. I don't have, like, a real, like...
Yeah.
business team around me. Like I'm literally doing everything by myself, 100% independent. But then on top of that, I'm also the artist. So it's like just wearing so many hats, it gets a little bit exhausting. But at the end of the day, I'm building all these skills so that when I do have like a real team in place, like I'll know exactly what they have to do. Like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do, and I'll be able to know everything. So it's nice.
When you were like delivering those tickets to people, was it like a drop-off thing, or would you like have conversations with all these people?
No, for the most part, it would be like genuine interactions. Yeah, there would be times I pull up and I'd kick it outside the crib for 30 minutes, just talking.
That's, I'm telling you,
yeah.
I think that's genius, man. I think that's so smart, because that's how you build a scene.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good way to build a scene.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like I said, like a mix of it is like sometimes I'm delivering a ticket to someone I haven't seen in a year, and I like know this person, I love this person. Like, I mean, I pulled up to shout out Matthew Duda, you know what I'm saying? I pulled up to Matthew's crib, and I literally he just like hopped in my whip, and we just talked for like an hour, just catching up, just because I haven't seen him in so long. Because that's like a day one homie, but then at the same time, he like wants to support, and he comes out to my shows, and he has so much fun. And then sometimes it's me meeting someone for the first time ever, and we're just interacting for the first time. We're asking each other questions, whatever. Take the selfie. Sometimes it's a little bit more drop off. I mean, like. I try to read everyone's like body language. Like I'm not gonna be like pull up here and be like, oh, thanks for coming out to my show, yada yada. Like I'm not gonna do the most. Like I just try to make it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
So the people who want to talk are gonna talk, and then the people who are just like, oh, thanks for the ticket, bro. I'll see you there. I'm like, bet.
Does meeting all these people and kind of doing these things in Phoenix and just that love of that community, does that make you want to stay in Phoenix, or do you have any intentions of like moving out to LA once you get bigger?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, bro. It's a tough question. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently because I've been doing it for so long in Phoenix, and I'm so well established in Phoenix. Like I was telling you, like before the camera was on, like every single time I go out, like I get recognized or I see someone I know. I could do all these sold out shows. Like so much of my following is rooted in Phoenix. But at the same time, I've had like a whole shift in my mentality recently, and like I'm really just trying to like, okay, if I could do all this, and if I've done all this in Phoenix, I want to go do this in Denver, San Francisco, Tokyo, fucking Boston. Like I want to do it on a global level. And in order to do that, like I just need to be in the best environment possible. And that very much may be Phoenix, but it may not be. And I'm recently like been more open to if it makes sense, moving and leaving. But if it doesn't make sense, like I'm not gonna force it. Like I'm not just gonna, because that's what a lot of people in Phoenix do. Not necessarily saying they're forcing it, but like that's the thing that makes sense. Is like, oh, what's the next major city closest to Phoenix? People go to fucking LA, especially like musicians, creatives, actors, all that shit. It's the same thing that like probably people in New Hampshire do with like, oh, we're gonna move to New York City. You know what I'm saying? So it would be definitely difficult to leave because like that's my city and like I love it so much. But I'm definitely open to it if it happens, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes, whatever it really takes to like make this like as real of a thing as possible.
I can definitely relate to that because my plan's always been to like eventually relocate to LA, but it's like the greater plan has always been bring everything that I earned back to the Bay.
Hey, fire.
I want like the 10-year plan is like I want above the bridge to have spots in LA and the Bay. And I want to live in the Bay. Because I started this, well, I didn't start it for this reason, but the reason this is still going is because I love Bay Area music. Yeah. And so I want to talk to Bay Area artists, and I want to like have a place where Bay Area artists can share their stories, and it's like I can't really do that in LA.
Yeah.
I kind of have to be back in the Bay, but I do feel like there's all kinds of opportunities down south, and I feel like it's a kind of a balancing act, and it's not the easiest thing to coincide with, but there is the facet that you can think in the long term. You know, like you can say like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere for a certain period of time. It's not permanent. I can come back, and I think it's really dumb when people like act like you're somehow like unloyal if you do that.
Yeah.
Like how if people were to call you like unloyal for like moving somewhere out of Phoenix to try to get your music and to pop a little bit more and like meet these people and get these opportunities, I don't think it's unloyal or you know, I just think it's the reality of what it takes sometimes.
Yeah, and I had those conversations with people, bro, because like I brought up all those things during my last LA trip, and I came home and was like, yo, dude, like I might just move out there, like that might be the vibe. And I think everyone who genuinely cares about you and like truly is rooting for you, like all I heard was positive things. They're like, you know what, it makes sense, go do it, like maybe that's what you need. But yeah, and then there is the other side of it where like a lot of people like may say you're unloyal or whatever, but at the end of the day, like I'm gonna take Phoenix with me like wherever I go, like, and I'm gonna always rep that. That's always gonna be like on my back, because that's my fucking city. You know what I'm saying? And regardless of where I pop off or when I pop off, like that's still the origin story. Like you can't rewrite history, bro. Like that's a part of my come up. So
a little bit unrelated. Are you a Diamondbacks fan?
No, but I have a Diamondback shirt upstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't watch baseball.
Yeah. It was a little unrelated.
Yeah.
After.
Are you?
No, I'm an A's fan.
Oh, okay.
But I was just going to say that I don't know if you saw this or whatever, but a Diamondbacks pitcher yesterday, he was a rookie, his first career start, he threw a no-hitter.
What's that? I don't even know what that
means. A
no-hitter
it's just a game where a pitcher throws a game where they don't allow a single hit.
Oh, damn.
And that like doesn't happen. It's happened.
And he's a freshman or like a first year? I said freshman.
It's his first career start.
Yeah, but that's fire, bro. Salute to that dude. You know what I'm saying? Good shit.
Shout out Diamondbacks.
Yeah, shout out the fucking Diamondbacks. Shout out the Suns, bro. The Suns almost had it, bro.
Dude, that's gotta be tough.
Dude, that shit was so tough, bro. It was so crazy because like the whole summer was like so monumental for Phoenix. Like Phoenix was like really on the come up, and we're all like everyone who's popping was like doing fucking great things and drop like every single time I go on my like timeline recently. It's like it's all my peers just like, you know, I'm congratulating them for their W's and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Every single time, oh, this person got that, streams this, streams that, toured it. Like it's so dope. It's so inspiring. And that was like the feeling that Phoenix had. And when the Suns started to pop off, bro, the level of camaraderie was like insane. Like we were really like going to bars and going to restaurants, like watching these games, like let's go Booker, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was crazy, and I really thought, especially tying in with like this whole sold out show that we just did, and like the whole point of it was family reunion, like our first time coming back together since COVID and shit. And we really thought it was like, bro, it would be like the perfect fucking storm if like the Suns got the fucking finals and then we sold out Crescent Ballroom. It would be so perfect. But
is that a big venue in Phoenix?
Yeah, Crescent Ballroom. I mean, so we're the only locals booked there. So if you go like on their page, like it's literally like all indie bands, just Rico Nasty and Flo Milli like perform like in a couple nights, and then just like a bunch of bands, Conway the Machine and shit. So we were the only locals to book it. So yeah, it's a decent sized venue.
Are there any venues in Phoenix you still have your eyes on that you want to sell out?
Fuck yeah, bro. Well, okay, so that's the tough part is I've done all the smaller ones.
Yeah.
So I've done Lunchbox and 51 West. Those are like 150 caps. I've done Rebel Lounge, Pub Rock. Those are like 350 caps, and then I've done Crescent Ballroom twice, which is a 520 cap. So beyond that, there's no like next step up. There's no like, and I started talking about this recently because a big thing for me is since kind of like you were talking about earlier, like how can I bring people back? Like I always try to make something like a new experience. Like even naming the event is so much to me. Like family reunion. I had a live band show last year, like live from Planet Mercury, like making it feel like a rich experience and like incorporating different artists that like people who, if it's their 7th time seeing me, at least they get to see new supporting acts, and then I'm playing new music and shit. So making a new experience is huge, and so much of that is like playing new venues. Like I was comfortable doing Crescent this time because I haven't done Crescent in 3 years, but I mean, it wouldn't be as cool if I was doing Crescent Ballroom or if I was doing Rebel Lounge like every single month. It's like, oh, Pariah Pete live, like like at the same spot, same people, like same music. It would just get dry. And so since I'm constantly trying to like one up myself and like do the next big thing, after Crescent Ballroom, there's like no real next step. There's no like 600, 700, 800 cap room. The next thing is like the Marquee Theater, which holds like 1,200 people, like 1,200 people.
There's no stepping stone.
Yeah, there's no, like, it goes like, you know, all the smaller venues, and then it's just like a huge leap to the next. But I would love to do the Van Buren, bro. The Van Buren is like the fucking prime, pristine venue.
I think I've heard of that.
Bro, it's the nicest fucking venue in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Holds like 2,000 people though. So it's like, the only way I'm doing that, you know what I'm saying, give me a year or whatever, and then like some really big other names and shit. But yeah, it's tough. So right now I'm trying to navigate. I haven't done Valley Bar either, which is like an underground venue. So I have my eyes on that as well. So yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
That's another reason why you can't stay in the same city forever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. You have to tour if you want to be a real musician.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And like that's the thing too, is like I think just my whole shift in mentality, because I like always thought so minuscule. Like I've always thought like only on a local base. Like, oh, like how many Pariah Pete fans can I get in Phoenix, Arizona? I never really thought about it with like, okay, like I have a niche that people fuck with everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a prime example. Like you are someone from the fucking Bay Area and you like my music. Like me 3 years ago would have never fathomed that. And like now that I'm in the place where it's like, bro, like I have people who follow me from different countries, bro. Yeah. Like I had someone DM me from like Brazil like 2 months ago that's like probably like in like broken English and stuff. Like they don't, like English is not even their first language and they love my music. That's like sick. That's insane. And so I'm really trying to, the mentality shift is everything, because of course I want to tour, of course I want to do this and that, and like build followings everywhere, but it's like the way I perceive myself and the way like I go about my career and handle myself and my professionalism and like what I work on manifesting is like really what's gonna like push me to that next level. So I would love to tour, yeah, eventually, and like start building those fans like in different cities. I'm already doing it on like a smaller level, but it's like I really just want to start putting all my effort into like just growing outside of Arizona, because like I mean, I feel like I'm starting to hit that like point in Arizona where it's like, all right, like how much higher am I gonna go? Like what am I gonna go do? Like a 2,000 room venue?
Yeah.
Like that's like almost like nonsensical, bro. Like I should go do a 100 room venue in LA. I should go do 100 in Denver or whatever. Like I want to start growing outside of Arizona, but at the same time, I want to keep my roots deeply in Phoenix. So that, you know what I'm saying, because that's powerful, you know, like a hometown following is everything. A hometown following is the reason why I'm here right now. So now it's just like trying to leverage that and take the next step up. I don't remember what that question was, but I just went off on a tangent.
But it's good. Tangents are the root of music matters.
Yeah, facts.
After school, after high school, did you have any intention of going to college? Did you go to college?
No. Nah, bro. I mean, like, so my high school experience in general was weird. Like, my freshman year, I was like a super, like, smoking weed every single day before, after school, like, cussing out teachers, like, class clown, like, fucking failed multiple of my classes. Sophomore year, I was like kind of in that same bag, but like a little bit more focused on music. So I was just like, oh, I don't care. And then junior year, I went to a new high school and I got straight A's. And then senior year, I got straight A's too. And so music was always the idea, and going to college was never the idea. So like I never took my SAT. I never took like whatever, any of those. And then I just never signed up for college. Like after high school, I just went fully into music and then just like living like full time. Like I mean, of course, like I've had like day jobs and shit. We were talking about it before cameras were on. Like I'm a server as well during the day. And so really just after high school, I just started putting all my time and effort into that. But I had no intention about going to college. I'm not against college though. I could potentially see myself going back one day. I think in an alternate reality, I did go to college after high school. But I mean, in that alternate reality, like I'm not as established probably as I am right now musically. So it's like I think I did the right thing for sure.
How did your parents feel about that? Were they supportive of your music?
So my mom, all my family, like I was saying earlier, is like from Poland, and so like they all immigrated here, and they very much like have that mentality where it's like, and I know like all my first gens could like relate, where it's like, if you're not working or if you're not like in school, like what the fuck are you doing? Like granted, like my mom is like so overwhelmingly supportive, and all my family's super overwhelmingly supportive, so it wasn't as like blunt as that. But at the same time, like definitely like my mom's like, okay, well like if you're gonna do this, like you gotta be working, and then you gotta at least like put your all into it, and like you have to really try to make this happen. Like you're not just gonna be able to like bullshit and like fuck off, which I haven't been doing at all, but like she still like implemented that and planted that seed in my head. So where the fuck was I going with that? Yeah, so my mom was like cool with me. Like she wasn't like ecstatic about me not going to college. Obviously, like she didn't have the opportunity to go to college when she was younger. Like of course she ended up going back, but like Yeah, she was fine with me not going to college.
Yeah, so she was very like open to the idea.
Yeah, she's super supportive, bro. Considering how she was born in fucking Poland in 1959, like fresh after like fucking Nazis and like Soviet Union regime, like the fact that she's raising an American boy who's a rapper is like that's like the opposite side of the spectrum, bro. Like it's so foreign, like pun intended. And she loves it. She's super supportive. She's my number one fan. So whatever it takes, she's definitely willing to push me for it.
That's super sick.
Yeah.
Does your culture and your heritage play into a lot of like how you kind of present yourself and present your music and present your brand?
Not really. I mean, like I'm the most non-Polish person.
I feel it.
Like I'm the most American. Like I barely speak it. Like I speak very little of it. Like I said, like I was the most like American raised because all my siblings were born there. But then I grew up like eating like fucking Subway and McDonald's and shit like that.
Americanized.
Yeah, I'm so fucking Americanized, which is crazy because it's like I'm the first person ever in my bloodline that was like born in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something like I didn't even start thinking about till like recently. It's like literally like my generations are all in fucking Europe as like farmers and fucking whatever, people in churches and shit. So it doesn't really play into it. I think it's more of like the mentality thing. It's just like the quote unquote like immigrant mentality of just like hustling and working hard and yeah.
Since you're so tapped in like the Phoenix scene and you're just reaching out to people like that, are you like really into networking? Because when you kind of hit me up, it seemed very apparent that it was like, all right, if somebody's from Arizona is hitting up somebody from the Bay Area and they're looking for connections in the Bay Area, they must care a lot about networking. Is that something you do a lot? Like DM people, take shots in the dark?
Nah, like, and that's even a word that like I don't like using. It's like networking because sometimes people like, oh, like I gotta go out and network. Like it's not an obligation for me. Like it's nothing that like I tell myself I have to do. This was more so like kind of like I was telling you once again before the cameras were on. It's just like a genuine interaction. Like it's like. I was coming out to Sacramento and I just wanted to know what the fuck was popping. I wanted to know if there were any dope artists. Maybe I could go out there and collab. Who knows? I mean, like my whole thing is like whatever's natural. Like I'm not gonna force it. For instance, like this was completely natural. Like I didn't hit you up like, oh, we should do it at fucking interview, yada yada yada. It's like we have to do this. Like it was just like I created the conversation. I checked out your catalog. I genuinely thought it was dope. Like I watched some of the interviews and stuff, and so it felt real, felt genuine, and that's just why I reached out. But I don't spend a lot of time like DMing people or nothing. Like I reached out to a couple other Sacramento artists and was just like, once again, the genuine ones that I genuinely fucked with. I was like, yo, your music's dope. Are you performing anytime? Like I'd love to just like come out and see you perform. And some people responded, some people didn't. But the whole like term networking, like I definitely don't do consciously. Like it's more so just like, I don't know, starting the conversation.
I totally can relate to that. I feel like there's so much pressure to like go to these like social settings with like the intention of like meeting somebody that can give you some kind of opportunity, but
and that's like it doesn't feel genuine.
It's not genuine.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Are you somebody who doesn't like making music with people you don't know? Like, is it hard for you to create with somebody that you're not like friends with first?
Kind of, yeah. So like usually like all like the people I work with full time are definitely friends first.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if someone reaches out to me, like, online, like, I'm not opposed because, obviously, like, I don't know them. But the biggest thing is, like, I have to be a fan of you. Like, it can't even be, like, a thing where it's like, oh, they're good, they're cool, or, oh, this makes sense stylistically, or, like, they have a following, so I should do it. I have to be a fan of you. And, like, everyone that I work with, like, I'm genuine fans of their music. Like, their shit is in my playlist. Like, I'm listening to it. Like, I know their lyrics, you know what I'm saying? So, definitely establishing, like, that friendship first is, like, pretty huge. But once again, it's all genuine. So it's like people who've just I've attracted into my life, and like we became friends, and then later on we started working on music and stuff. So, yeah. I
know we were talking about this before the cameras went on, but how did you meet like a lot of the artists that you've been touring with and artists you've been opening for? Like, talk a bit about how you met Breakup Shoes in particular, because that was a band that I was a fan of, and I thought it was pretty cool that you were opening for them.
Yeah, so that was the one mutual we had.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like I said, like
that's weird that it's connected.
Bro,
like
everything's connected, bro. Like everything is fucking connected. So you knowing Breakup Shoes is fucking insane because I went to high school with all them, and those are all like my fucking friends.
Yeah.
Like John McLeod, you know what I'm saying? That's the homie. They're all they're all my homies, and I had a lot of classes with their like because they're a few years older than me, so I had a lot of classes with like their younger siblings, and I like kind of knew of their name for a minute, But my whole thing was when I was really a part of the Phoenix scene originally, I was like only on the rap side and I was only on the hip hop side. And it wasn't until 2019 where I started exploring like the other genres. Like I'm a hip hop baby. Like I never listened to really music outside of hip hop until like a couple of years ago. And so when I started exploring the local music and just like finding out the other like indie bands, the punk bands, the R&B artists, like all that type of shit, I found Breakup Shoes again, and I was like, oh wait, like I went to school with all these people, and I completely like fell in love with their music, and I just started going out to their shows and stuff, and then we just like became homies, and they show me love, I show them love, and then recently I did like their sold out show for their new release, for their new EP release. Which is fucking insane. But yeah, the fact that like you already knew of them is insane.
I think music, and like if you're really trying to do something in the music industry, there's so many like weird connections.
Yeah.
And I've actually had stuff like this happen more than once, where it's like somebody reaches out to me or I reach out to them, and it's like we like a similar artist, and they might know that artist, I might know that artist, and somebody from other side of the country is like, oh, I know them, you interviewed them, or I'm like, oh, you toured with them, I'm a fan of them. It's weird that stuff is so connected like that. Like music, the music industry really is like a big web.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I think it's just all like an energy thing too. But it is cool. Also, I had this feeling when I came out here, and I've been staying with someone who's very well established in the scene. And it's funny because like the way that she talks about Sacramento is like the way that I would talk about Phoenix, where it's like, oh, this is the shit. Oh, we have to support our local artists. Oh, let's pop out to our friend's show. Oh, this person's doing this, and that. They're so dope. Like, I feel like in the sense of like, oh, like everything's connected, there's so many similarities, at least in scenes that are somewhat established with like musicality, like with music and shit. The same way that like I'm repping for like all my Phoenix artists, I come out here and you're repping for like all your Bay Area artists. So it's like, it's just dope how it's the same thing, just with different locations and different people. Like, but it's all like the same. It's the same idea of like really like pushing other creatives and supporting each other to break through to that next level.
Exactly. Like even like when you told me that you're like, oh, I'm staying out in Sacramento, like, yeah, I love Sacramento, man. It's like I haven't like been coming out to Sac until like the past like year and a half, but it's like I'm out here all the time because like I have a friend who lives in Citrus Heights, a good friend of mine. Shout out Austin, if Austin's watching this.
Hey, shout out Austin.
Shout out Austin. But so I'm out here, good amount to see him, and then when I'm not here, I've interviewed like 3 or 4, a bunch of other artists, honestly, that are out here from Sac, and it's like it's weird without even like, consciously making it a thing. I've kind of like actually grown to like the city and like the area, and I've like begun to like know like different parts of the area, and it's been kind of cool to see the area. And it's just weird how like different opportunities bring you to places you never could have imagined. Like another like thing that makes me think about that is like a lot of the ways that I find new people to interview is like I'll hit somebody up like locally that I'm a fan of, and then they'll give me a connection, and then I'll go to that connection and they'll give me a connection, and I just keep following that web, and it kind of just reinforces the fact that like everybody knows everybody and everybody's connected. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's kind of funny. Along that lines of not networking, but just meeting people and knowing people and the web that is music, I gotta ask you, how did the Doja Cat thing come about?
So that was a crazy ass opportunity. That was through like the local radio station, 101.1 FM is like the hip hop station that I listened to growing up. Like when I used to be in the car with my mom, I would be like, yo, can we put on 101.1? And it was insane because they just started fucking with me. Like they started playing my music, so like my music's like getting played. It was at a time period getting played like weekly on their radio station. I don't know about it now, but they just have been showing me hella love like since day one. And they're like attached to the parent company, which is AZ The Beat, which owns like multiple different radio stations and then puts together like a lot of shows and like festivals. And they just reached out to me because the event coordinator, Viv, like just really fucks with me and has been supporting me for a super, super long time. And she was like, yo, like I have a crazy ass opportunity for you. She was like, are you down? Because she was like, I know you have another show coming up, so it might interfere with that, but if you're down to hear the details, just let me know. I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm down to perform whenever. Like I've accepted, I've gotten this far about like accepting every single fucking show opportunity I've ever gotten. Recently I've been establishing like, all right, well you gotta pay me to show up because I know my worth and I know my value now because I bring out people. But I've always accepted every single opportunity. So when she hit me up, and I've already fucked with her for years, I was like, absolutely, like let me hear what you got. and she was like, oh, you want to do the Doja Cat show? It's already like 75% sold out. Like, we don't even have to trip about, like, it's a guaranteed sellout. Like, we just want you to pull up and perform. And I was like, fucking bet, bro. I literally hopped out of my bed, like, when I got that text. So it was insane, and that's all, like I said, like, through AZ The Beat and 101.1. Salute to them, shout out to them, much love, because that was the biggest opportunity in my life, like, thus far, for a performance. Like, that was 2,500 people. It was completely sold out. They were promoting it every single day on the radio station, and my song and, like, my voice would be on the station every single day. Like, in between songs, you know how they're like, oh, call in to get free tickets for Doja Cat with supporting act Pariah Pete, and then it would play my song for like 5 to 10 seconds, which is absolutely insane. That was like a really surreal time period because everything was like so big and like right in front of my face. And then I had the opportunity to open up for 2 other big acts that were supposed to be within the next like 6 weeks, and I like thought that this was like my moment, and then fucking COVID. So it's all good though. That was still a great ass opportunity regardless.
I feel for you, man. That's rough. And
yeah.
I can. You're not the first person I've talked to who's felt like they were getting to a turning point with live music, and then COVID hit and it ripped everything away.
Yeah, and pre-COVID too is really when I started working with my band a lot. So when I perform with a live band, which is fucking amazing because, like, I mean, you know my music, it's very like, I mean, I don't like to say it's like 90s because that's
a lot of it's instrumental. It's boom bap based.
Yeah, exactly. Boom bap based, 90s, lo-fi, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Personally, what I like to say is jazz rap. Like, it's real it's real jazzy. It's real, like, on some Tribe Called Quest. It's super jazzy because all the samples are rooted in jazz music. And so working with a live band, first off, has elevated me as a musician and as a person so fucking much because I'm surrounded by people who are like classically trained in music theory, who teach guitar, who teach bass, who have been on tour multiple times, who teach singing, teach like piano. Like, all the musicians I'm surrounded with when we do these live performances are so fucking awesome. So shout out Jacob, Malik, Gus, Carly. You guys are all fucking great individuals. But pre-COVID, I really started working with them a lot, and we were getting so tapped in where we're rehearsing like once a week because we did my sold-out headlining show, and then we played together for Doja Cat, and then we had so many other gigs lined up, so we were doing it so much. And then now, finally, that ball is starting to get rolled again. Like, we did the Breakup Shoe show, so I performed with them for the Breakup Shoe show, and then a couple weeks after, we just did the Family Reunion show, and then we have 2 different gigs set up for September, so we're like kind of getting back in the flow of like performing a lot together and rehearsing a lot together. Which has made me so much better of like a musician, bro. Like, just being surrounded by how talented they are, and it's made me want to write music a little bit differently, and then it's also made me want to do like a live album one day. So yeah, dude, my live band shit is fucking insane, bro.
When did you start performing with a live band?
That was like, we started rehearsing together late 2019, and then our first real show together was the Lunchbox. So that was live from Planet Mercury. That was February 15th of 2020. So it's been like almost close to 2 years of like rehearsing together now. And
how did you meet those people, those musicians in your band?
Yeah, so Jacob, the guitarist, he initially hit me up through the idea because he was working with some other rappers. He was working with Jalopy Bunga's first show, and he came up to me afterwards and he was like, bro, we could do what we just did like for you, like for a performance for you. And then he had an idea of like incorporating a couple different artists as well because he's been very well established in the scene for years, and he just wanted to start working with like rappers more and stuff. And so he reached out to me, and then we just like, our friendship has just fucking been building since then. And then he's really like brought in like Gus, the bassist, Malik drums, and Carly on keys. And I met all them through that. So yeah, it's all really thanks to Jacob, bro. And he's a genuine person. He's like one of my closest friends now, so he's awesome.
That's so sick that it's kind of a friendship. I mean, it sounds like it started as a musical connection, but it's developed into something more.
Absolutely, yeah. And that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, where it's like kind of establishing the friendship first. It's like, or if not, it's like the reverse, where it's like the music was established first, but friendship came with it. So yeah, it's been a super dope experience. I love working with them. They're all super fucking talented. So.
Transitioning from like performing solo to a live band setting, was that hard? Like learning how to use cues and just learning how to.
No, dude, it felt super natural. Like it felt super fucking natural. Just because I've performed so fucking much, bro, and like kind of like what I was saying earlier, where I'm like so confident and so comfortable on stage. I've performed so much where it's like it felt it just feels more real. Like hearing my songs with the live band, like it sounds so much better. Like there are so many songs that I like the version we do live more than the version that's on Spotify, which is fucking insane to me. Which is why I want to do a live band album.
Do you want to get in the studio and ever record music with them? Like
that's
a live album?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like I want to do the live band album. Yeah, so I don't know when, or I want to start incorporating it on this project that I'm about to release. I have live guitar on one of the songs, damn, what was I just saying? I was getting off on a tangent. But yeah, like really working with them has like elevated me so much and makes me want to do more live stuff. But it's all been super natural. There wasn't much of a learning curve, and yeah, it's dope. It's dope as
When you say it changed the way you wanted to write, what do you mean by that? Like, did you start writing to more instrumentals?
Yeah, so it kind of, because like I picked up on my patterns a lot easier. So when we're deconstructing my songs, we get to hear, like, me and my fucking drummer are always making the joke, because like the BPMs that I choose are usually like 85 BPMs, like it's very like chill, very mellow tempo. So I was just like picking up on patterns like that, and then like I said, like my guitarist and my bassist are like trained in music. I mean, they're all trained in music theory, but they could even understand like what chords and what keys like I naturally attract to, like what unconsciously I'm choosing in these instrumentals that I'm writing to, and even like instrumentation wise, like, oh, like you really like this type of guitar, you really like this type of piano and stuff. So it's kind of been, it's helped me reflect on myself a lot more, and then transitioning into like when we do these rehearsals and we're like recreating my songs live, it makes me want to go and like write these songs a little bit differently, like whether that's like flow or cadence wise, or maybe that's like structure wise. Big part of it is structure, because really what I want to start working on for my future projects is like getting the best production possible, because I'm at the point in my career where like I know I write phenomenal music and I have the lyrics there and I have the lyricism and I have the choruses and the bridges and all that type of shit, but production is really like what is the foundation of everything. So moving forward, I just want to work with like the best production possible, and naturally that's just gonna make me write the better songs.
Do you do the production on your projects?
No, I don't make beats. That's all my homies though. So it's like Skates and Knowledge Nick were like the producers I was working with a lot, Crust, and then it's mostly people that like I know in person, and then some of them are just like relationships that have been established through like Instagram and Twitter and stuff.
Is that something you'd want to do in the future, like learn to make beats?
I've made beats before. Like I've made a couple beats when I was like 16 years old, and they're like, I mean, I showed my producers and they're like, oh, those are actually like pretty good, just because I have a natural ear for it. But there was something about like sitting in front of like the MPC or whatever for a minute, making the beat. Making the beat.
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, making the beat and then writing the song, and then even back then I was recording myself, and I'd be burnt out. I'd be exhausted by the end. And it kind of goes into what I'm talking about when I do these shows and I'm wearing so many hats. Like, I don't think that that's what's best for me. Some people could fucking execute that shit. Some people, fucking Kanye, Russ, whatever, like are self-produced and then they engineer themselves or whatever. And that works awesome for them. And that's dope. But for me, personally, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, bro. It makes me tired by the end of the session. And realistically, instead of like putting my time and effort into all these different fucking things and learning how to be the best engineer, the best producer, how to use this equalizer, how to fucking compress this, and then also writing the song and trying to be the best lyricist possible, I'd much rather just put all that time and effort and all that love and passion into just like the songs and just like writing the lyrics and sticking with just the words. And then, so since then, like I've been able to like work at different studios and different engineers where it's like I stopped recording myself, because I just want to be able to pull up there and execute the song to the best of my ability and just work with people that I know are fucking super talented and they're going to snap on their part. So it's like I don't have to worry about like, oh, I got to engineer this too, or oh, I got to produce this too. But who knows, maybe one day like when the time comes where like music is like a full-time career and like that's all I do, fuck yeah, like I'd definitely be down to like learn how to produce, and I want to slowly learn stuff about music theory potentially, or like potentially learn how to play like instruments kind of, just whatever it takes really. But at the time being, like I think it's just best for myself and my art to just put it all into the lyrics and like just focus on that rather than trying to do everything at once.
What's your lyrical process like? Like, how do you write a song from front to back? Like from front to back, do you kind of start with the concept and mold the hook and the verses around that, or do you start with a hook, or what's that like?
It's changed a lot. I've always been very hook driven, and like that's one thing that like I think's a standout in my music is that I write like really catchy choruses and stuff.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, and so I was definitely hook driven in the beginning, and I think that's just naturally like what I lean to. Like I think I'm just like, I mean, my guitarist brought it up. Like, I'm a very melodic rapper. Like, not in the sense of, like, I'm not in the studio using auto-tune, but, like, the
your
way
flows.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's very melodic. And so I naturally write hooks really well. So sometimes I'll come up with the hook first. But sometimes, like, it's different every single time. Sometimes I have a beat, and I just listen to the beat, and I have the beat in my fucking computer folder for, like, 6 months, bro. And then I just go back 6 months later when the right inspiration's there. Sometimes I'll want to come up with a concept first, and then I'll start working from there. But really, like, all of it's just like an energy and like a vibe thing where it's just like I am just trying to be an instrument to the beat, and whatever like emotion I get from that, I'm just trying to like match it. So it's just like very natural at this point. Like I don't have to. It's very unconscious. Like I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about like, oh, I need this here. I need this and that. Like I've just done it so many times where it's just like it's another language pretty much.
Are you somebody who like has an experience or like has something happen in their life and you just gravitate towards writing about it, or are you somebody who just kind of writes about whatever's on your mind at the moment?
I mean, so a little bit of both for sure. So like as you could probably tell through my music, like it's very like real and very like autobiographical. So it's like quite literally like whatever I'm going through at that time period, whether it's like a bigger chapter in my life or if it's that emotion on that exact day, I always write it out. Like my real life is very much my music, bro. Like it's very like sometimes I'll be looking at my lyrics like it's like damn, this shit is high key like some diary entry shit. Like this shit is very fucking personal. Like I get super vulnerable in my music. So really it's just about like how I feel on that exact day. But yeah, I definitely draw all the inspiration from real life, and like yeah, that's definitely the foundation of it all.
I can totally see that because I'm trying to think about it right now, but I feel like pretty much, or I don't know about every single one, but like the vast majority of the songs on Mercury on your album were like narratively driven. Like I found that like what I gravitated towards when listening to your album was like I would take the stories from the songs a bit more than I would take the beats or your flow or whatever. I felt like the stories kind of stuck with me more, whether it was just like you talking about something random or like you know just whatever, just the lyrics, I think. So I feel like I could definitely see you as somebody who like the writing comes first in your music.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And like so that's so much of like what Mercury was about, because Mercury was an entire chapter in my life. It was inspired by my 1987 Mercury Marquis, like my first car ever. It got totaled by a drunk driver, and that was like the catalyst for like my whole life getting flipped on its head, and me like having to embrace that I do not have control over everything, and just like learning how to like live that way. Because right after that, like I graduated high school, and then my mom moved out of state, so I was like living on my own, and I was couch surfing, and I was living in some unhealthy environments. And then the group that I was once a part of like then dissolved. Even went through like some relationship type stuff, so it was like my entire world just went 360 real quick, like where I was in a completely different mentality. And Mercury was all about capturing all that and like embracing the lack of control that I had, really, and like using that to my advantage. So that's dope that you caught on that, because that was very much like my intention with Mercury, was like telling the story of that, of like that whole time period.
If you don't mind me asking, that car crash, was that like what was the situation? Was that like kind of hard to deal with? Like were you injured or like?
No, so I talk about it. So like I said, like all my real life shit gets in my music.
Yeah.
So the second verse of The Finest, which is like my most streamed song, I talk about that car crash, and pretty much it was like I was driving.
Yeah, I think I remember this now.
Yeah. And so I was just driving down 32nd Street. It's the street that I live on in Phoenix. And I was just going through a green light. It was like a Sunday night. I was on my way to go smoke with homies. I was almost about to start rapping the verse on accident, bro, because that's like literally the lyric in it. And so I crossed the green light, and then out of nowhere, bro, I just see this minivan. And this minivan's going like fucking 60, 70 miles per hour. Whoa. And it just went right in front of me. And so I had no other choice. I was either going to swerve into traffic, or I was just going to slam on my brakes and just hit them. And so that's what I did. I slammed on my brakes. I hit them right on the driver's side door. And then like I went off the road and like went into like a little ditch. And I had no airbags in this car, but my 1987 Mercury Marquis, bro, was a tank. This shit was a boat, bro. Like, it was real metal. Like, they don't make cars like that anymore. Like, that. It
shit took a minivan. Yeah, that thing's a tank.
Yeah, bro. And so I was completely. I mean, like, I had like fucking neck issues and back issues. Like, obviously, like I was sore as fuck. It was a like, in a physical sense, it was definitely like a rough experience, but. I mean, I'm lucky. Like, that could have been a million times worse. You know, some people don't walk out of that. So, it was definitely a wild experience. And then, it was more so though, just because like, it was so unexpected, bro. Like, I had just dropped my music video that I filmed all around that car, and then 2 days later, like, that car crash happened. So it was just wild, bro. It was wild.
Do you feel like the reason why that period that followed the car crash was such a transitional and kind of just a mentality shift period in your life? Did you feel like it was because you had an experience that like made you question like, wow, like everything could change tomorrow? I could lose everything tomorrow.
No, absolutely. And that was like I said, that was the catalyst. So it was like immediately after that was graduating high school. Immediately after graduating high school was me living on my own and my mom no longer living with me and stuff. And then immediately after that was the group breaking up, and then immediately after that, like, it was all just like a fucking big ass, like, it was, like I said, like the catalyst. So that was very much it, like, just me accepting that I did not have fucking control over things. So, you know.
That's such a weird thing to think about, like the idea that what happens is not in our control. Are you, because I think about this a lot, do you think life's predetermined? Like, do you think like steps ahead of you? Do you think like there's something in the world, some kind of force or power or whatever that like says like tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and this can happen?
Yeah, I have no idea, bro. I'm very like spiritually like in tune, and like I believe in God, whatever term you want to say, God, Allah, fucking Buddha, the universe, energy, the source, higher power. Like I'm very much believe in it, and I very much have faith in it, and I'm very tuned into it in a sense. But do I know if we have free will, or if everything's predetermined? I have no fucking clue, bro.
Yeah.
I have no fucking clue. But I definitely think things happen for a reason, as cliche as it is. And I think absolutely, like, there was a reason why that happened. I think there's a reason why I'm here today, right now in Sacramento. I think there's a reason why I'll be wherever I am 3 months from now, and whatever I'm going through in 3 months. Like, so that's tough. It sounds like, me describing it sounds like I'm kind of more leaning on the side where it's like everything's kind of predetermined, but at the same time, I do think we have free will. So it's like, I don't know.
This whole
life shit's crazy in general. Bro. The fact that we live in here and fucking breathing right now is wild.
I feel like what I want to believe and what I do believe are two different things. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about religion too. It's like, I wish, like, I'm not religious. I don't really. I'm not like not religious though. I consider myself very agnostic.
Yeah.
In the sense that like I just kind of accept the fact that I don't know. I don't know what I believe. But I do wish I believed in a God.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie to myself and sit here and try to manifest and manufacture some belief that isn't within me, because I don't think I'll get any value out of it in that sense. But it's like I wish that I woke up every day and truly believed in my heart that there was a higher power. But the reality is more like I just think that I don't know. And I think the reason why I wish I believed in a higher power is because I think I've seen how religion can take somebody and give them purpose.
Yeah.
But I just don't think I'm one of those people. Like, I don't think I could like wake up every day and have my purpose in something else other than myself. I'm very much self-driven. I'm very much, as arrogant as that sounds, I'm very much somebody who is like,
all I care about is myself. All I love is myself.
But I'm very much in the sense that like I think like happiness comes from within. At least for me. I totally can respect how other people can get happiness or like take happiness from some kind of higher power. But for me, I feel like I'm the only thing that can truly determine if I'm gonna have a good day or I'm gonna have a bad day.
For sure. I feel it.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's just something, I don't know. That's just the way I've always felt. I definitely went on a tangent there. That Doja Cat show, was that the biggest show you ever played?
Yeah, dude. That was fucking 2,500 people, so that was by far the biggest crowd. The biggest crowd before that opened up for Xavier Wolf and his Izzy
Did
Gibson.
You really?
Yeah.
I love Sesh, man. I'm a big Xavier Wolf fan.
Yeah, and these opportunities are dope too because it was like I was hand selected for them. Like a lot of people get to open, and I'm by no means bashing it, you feel me? But a lot of people, it's like a businessy type thing. It's like, oh, they opened through this. They opened for this person because they knew a certain person.
Through an agency or whatever.
Or they paid to open up for this person. Which is just like not my vibe. Like I'm just not into that as much. So it's like all the opportunities I got to open for people were super organic in the sense of like they literally just hit me up directly. They're like, Pete, yo, come open. I said, bet. And I was supposed to open up for Smino as well. That was another big opportunity that was supposed to happen after Doja Cat and then Burhana. And those were also opportunities that people were just hitting me up personally and like just, gracing me with them. But yeah, so Doja was the biggest. That was 2,500. Zizzy Gibson and Xavier Wolf was like 800, and then after that was the show that I just did, the 520. So at Crescent Ballroom. So, but I've done that twice.
How'd that Xavier Wolf opportunity come about?
Through like the promoter just hitting me up, the person who was putting it together, and they just fucked with me, and they were just trying to find a couple good local acts, like a couple strong local acts, and they were like, yo, you want to open up for Xavier? And I've always fucked with Xavier. Like I've thought Xavier is fucking dope. I think it's so dope how independent he is and how he's like always touring and always making it work and always releasing content and like how much of like a cult following he truly has, and his music's dope as fuck. And
full start of the movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still going and he's still going like hard as fuck. Bro, this dude, I think Xavier Wolf is probably like the most active person coming to Phoenix probably. Like he's always performing, bro. I swear, like every single like 3 to 6 months, like even during COVID and shit, he was like coming and performing and shit, which is dope. Like he's always hustling.
I think about like all that avenue of the underground and like the sesh lane of like just that I don't know if aisle is the right word, but that section of underground hip hop. It is so incredible how much those guys do. Yeah. I find that like Bones and Chris Travis and Eddie Baker and
I opened up for Eddie Baker too. Yeah.
Did you really?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I almost interviewed Eddie Baker.
Really? That's fire.
See, that's what I'm saying. Everything's connected. Yeah, we were like DMing, but then he kind of just stopped talking to me. But I don't know. But yeah, no, it's like it always fascinated me how much music they put out. Bones in particular. Yeah. That fool is putting out like 8 albums a year.
Really?
And it shows. I think it's a good example of like how you were talking about earlier, how like some people can put out a song every week and it works for them, and some people like Frank Ocean don't put out a song or don't put out an album for 5 years and people still love them. I think it's a good example of how everybody has their own lane, and that cult following and that underground particularly was very much into that drop an album every couple weeks type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Once you started playing those shows and playing those higher caliber opening slots, did that help you like not get nervous when you were playing for smaller shows, or have you never really got nervous on stage?
Well, I definitely got nervous on stage early on. Like, dude, before my first performance ever, which was literally like on a street corner in downtown Phoenix I don't know, some other cities have it, some don't. I don't think Sacramento has it. So maybe where you are from has it. Do you guys have like First Fridays? Or like sometimes it's like a different day of the month where it's like there's one day of the month where like everyone goes downtown and it's all like art driven?
No, okay. I don't think so.
So we have First Friday.
I'm from like a suburb, but...
Word. I know a couple other cities outside of Arizona has it, so I know I'm not crazy for this. But First Friday in Phoenix is huge. It's like just right on Roosevelt Row, which is just like a really popular street in downtown Phoenix. And everyone goes there and people set up live painting. People are selling their jewelry. There are a bunch of different little bars. People are doing live music. People are doing taco trucks. People are doing... It's just a bunch of like culture, like literally just a bunch of culture. And people are just walking back and forth, and people go out just to have fun. People go out there to perform. People go out there for whatever. And I used to go to that every single fucking month. And that's where I started performing. So I performed on the corner for one of those shows. I don't think it was an open mic because there was like a flyer and like designated artists and shit, but I performed for that. I was so nervous, bro. Literally like my entire stomach was just like on fire. And like, I mean, like that kind of just like slowly rubbed off. One thing that I've started doing recently, cause I don't get nervous anymore, but like I'm just in pre-show mode. Like I don't like to be around a lot of people. I don't like to, like I'm not chilling. Like, but I'm very much just like in my head, like I just have tunnel vision. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna kill it, I'm gonna do me. So I don't want to be surrounded by a lot of energies. I'm just kind of like focused on myself. I'm not really talking a lot, but I'm not nervous. But recently something that I started doing is I started performing completely sober, which is super powerful because without it making me sound like I'm a fucking rock star with a substance abuse problem, I don't remember the last time I performed sober. So for the breakup shoe show, I was completely sober, and then for the show last weekend for the family reunion show, I was completely sober.
You're what before? You were just smoking before shows?
I smoked before a couple of shows, but it would always be going to drinking. I would always drink before a show. Always have a beer. Always have 2 beers. Always have a couple drinks. And I would use it to just like everyone fucking does to loosen up or whatever. Yeah. But so quickly I became so confident with my ability on stage, and just because I have like crazy presence and I have crazy crowd control. Like the second I go on stage, people know. And so I've like built all those skills, and those skills are within me, and they don't need to be quote unquote what I used to think as being enhanced by alcohol, just by me being more free and flowy. Now I benefit so much more about going up there sober because I have crystal clear awareness of the entire fucking room. And I know, especially recently with working with my live band, I've been working on me being the best instrument as possible vocally, because sometimes I'll go up there and I'll be too drunk and I'll just start like yelling and screaming, and I'll be going too hard because I'm faded, because I don't know. And there are some shows where I've looked back the next night and I'm on the story, and my sister's always and my mom's always talking to me about this. They're like, yo, you're like yelling on stage, like. And in the moment, it feels raw and it feels real, and like people love it, but there's still room for improvement. And so that's something that I've been really focusing on recently, is going up there sober with that crystal clear awareness and being able to do the best job vocally. And my past 2 shows have been like my best fucking shows, like the breakup shoe show and the family reunion show. By far my best performance, and completely sober. And that breakup shoe show was my first sober show in years, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would think also it'd probably be, I guess, just less stimulating when you're up there sober. So I could definitely see why it'd be, in a sense, easier to perform drunk, because I feel like, or if you're if you're just under the influence in any way, shape, or form, you're probably less focused on every single aspect of the room. But what comes along with that, I would imagine, is it's probably a bit hard to have that crowd awareness and be focusing on how people are reacting to what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, everything kind of, it's crazy. Like, it sounds crazy, but, like, everything's, like, kind of like a blur when you're up there drunk. But sometimes that's, like, the, like, vibe. Like, sometimes that's what you want to do as a performer. You just want to go up there and, like, do a show and, like, put on a fucking show. And when you're drunk, it's a lot easier to get the crowd hype and to do all this shit to be hype. And by no means am I bashing, like, any artist who does that, because I did that for so fucking long. It's more of just, like, a personal challenge for me now, where it's, like, I know that I could do it drunk. Now I'm like, okay, what can I do, like, sober up there, to just start, like, like, retraining my brain and, like, challenging myself. And I love doing it sober, bro. Like, I really do, because, like, I don't need it. Like, I don't need the alcohol to get loose. Like, I'm already loose. You feel me?
Was there a turning point? Like, was there one show where you're like, I think this is gone. I've been doing this under an influence for too long. Like, I wanted to try this sober.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was just so many shows.
Yeah.
It was so many shows where, like, and it wasn't every show, it wasn't every single night, but there were so many shows where I'd be like, damn, like, I was really yelling. Especially with, like, my last Crescent Ballroom show, the one that I did 3 years ago, because, like I said, that was my second time selling it out. Yeah, dude, I was, like, yelling that night, like, to the point where, like, my voice is, like, raspy and shit, and it just, like, it doesn't sound good. There have been a lot of shows like that where it's like, damn, like, for that moment, for that one song in particular, I'm like, I'm going a little too hard. But then also working with my live band has helped teach me where it's like, oh, well, that's also because at sound check, I'm not telling the engineer, oh, hey, can I get more vocal in my monitor so that I can hear myself better, so that I don't have to project so loud because I can't hear myself. So being sober has helped with that too, because I'm able to hear myself better in that sense. So yeah, I forgot what the question was. I forgot. I went on tangent though.
No, you're good.
Oh, like, what was the turning point though?
Yeah,
it was really, okay, the real turning point was my first live band show ever, because we had really shitty monitors, and I was like really fucking screaming to overcompensate, and I was really drunk that night, and then it made me just, like, moving forward, be like, nah, like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. So yeah,
that makes sense. And I feel like it probably, I don't want to say, like, again, this isn't me bashing you. Please don't take it that way.
Yeah, not at all.
But it's like, I feel like it probably is better for the longevity of it to not have to do something when you're under an influence. It probably gives you a lot easier time, because it's like, you can, if you're performing every single day and then you have because I know artists like this, and I've heard of artists like this, people who kind of get in that state where they're relying on substances while they're performing. It can turn into a problem really quickly.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with people who need to be on a substance to record.
Yeah.
It's like you start thinking that like you need this for your career, and then you kind of get stuck. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that was definitely a huge part of it too, where it's like, damn, like I'm building habits for the future, and obviously my future is being like a touring artist. So if I'm relying on alcohol every single night, that means I'm going to rely on alcohol every single night for tours, for multiple different tours. And I already have had my issues with alcohol just personally, like in my personal life. During COVID, I was drinking. There were times where I was drinking way too much, and I've definitely battled with that. And so, and I think that's why like performing sober is like so much more meaningful and powerful to me, is because like it's not just performing sober. It's like kind of like me like regaining control on like how much I drink.
Doing it for yourself.
Exactly, because like I was like drinking way too fucking much for way too fucking long for a minute.
As were many people during COVID. It's a tough time for everybody, and a lot of people turn to things like that.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think it's definitely powerful that like I'm making that transition. And who knows, maybe I perform sober for the rest of my life. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a time period right now where it's like I'm just challenging myself for that. So we'll see what the future holds. But for now, I really like doing it.
And I think you having the self-awareness to say that maybe in the future I won't, maybe I will. Yeah. I think you having that self-awareness like within you already puts you on just a path to where it shouldn't be a problem in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. Because who knows? Maybe I go on tour and maybe I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to have a drink before the show. What the fuck? Yeah, sold out Cincinnati. What the fuck? Like whatever the fuck it is. But then, definitely like having the sober nights. I just saw a post today that Jack Harlow hasn't drank at all in 2021. Yeah,
I saw that
that's
too.
That's crazy as fuck.
That's pretty wild. Yeah. Jack Harlow is somebody who I have a lot of respect for, because if you look back in Jack Harlow's catalog, that man has been he's been doing this shit for a long time. Yeah. And he was nobody for a long time. I
found him in like 2017 through like Sundown, that song. And
The Sun's Tirade, that whole album, I remember, yeah.
That's Isaiah Rashad, bro.
Oh shit, yeah, no, The Sun's Tirade. What was the...
Sundown
18 is the album I'm thinking of, the Jack Harlow album.
Yeah.
The Sun's Tirade, yeah. That is Isaiah Rashad, 2016.
Yeah. Sundown is the song, I think, on that album.
On 18, right? That's the one where he's sitting with the tank top on.
I don't know. I think the cover is just his face. But 18, I think, was the one before that.
Okay,
but it was still that like general time period. But yeah, I found him way back then, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's dope. And I think it's crazy of just how much of a fucking mega star he's become. Like,
it's wild.
Dude, he's like one of the biggest names right now, which is insane.
And it happened so quickly.
Yeah. So shout out Jack Harlow, bro. Respect.
Inspiration. Your latest track, Charcuterie.
Yeah.
I really hope I was pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, charcuterie. Charcuterie.
It's charcuterie like the board, right?
Yeah.
How was the reception for that? Like how did, once you put that out this summer, how was everybody feeling about that?
Yeah, the reception's been super dope, bro. Especially because like when I made that, I was in such a time period in my life. I made that in like February or March, and I was like really going through it. And I was in like a dark time period, and so I really just like wanted to like put all the fucking emphasis into just like capturing that moment, capturing that feeling, and like the thing that's so dope about that song, it's like so hungry and it's so gritty and it's so raw. And so after band practice one day, I was with my guitarist and I was just like, yo, let me just show you this verse. And I started spitting like, oh, the trials and tribulations shit, like the first verse of that song, to the beat. And he was like, bro, that's like one of the best verses I've heard by you. He's like, you got to do something with that. And so I ended up buying the beat, and then through Corey Ayo, shout out Corey Ayo, you know what I'm saying? He also produced The Finest, my biggest, most streamed song on Spotify. And I got the beat, and then I wrote the second verse, and then I went to record it. And when I recorded it, I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, this is dope as fuck. But when I would show people, like, the overwhelming love and support that I got for it was, like, so surprising. Because... Like I said, like I'm pretty like self-aware when it comes to my music, so it's like I know, or like I think I know what people are gonna like, and I think I know what people are gonna be driven to, but at the end of the day, I have no idea. And so when I made that song, it's just me barring out, it's just pure lyricism, it's just fucking hip hop, and the fact that so many people, and that's like who I am, like that's my essence, that's my core style. So the fact that so many people were like, yo, that song's fucking amazing, like that's one of your best songs ever, I was like, oh damn, I just gotta drop this shit. And then I showed my videographer, and we made the music video for that, and it was dope because that was my first drop in a while, and I got a lot of love for it, so it It was dope.
How was the shoot for that? I watched the video. That's the one you guys were all outside and everything.
Yes,
I love the energy in that video.
Yeah.
Where'd that idea come from?
So a lot of it, shout out Braxton Apana, you know what I'm saying? He actually just fucking texted me. I just saw that, Braxton Apana. He's my
Shout out Braxton.
Shout out Braxton. He's my genius videographer. And so him and I have been working together for the past like year-ish. We did a video for my song Nirvana, and then for this one Charcuterie, and then we have one called Real Friends that's gonna be dropping in like, I don't know whenever my album drops. And so him and I work together super well, and we bounce off ideas super well because he's like super raw and imaginative and creative when it comes to like the core idea, and then I am huge on like my attention to detail, and like I have a lot of experience doing music videos and like just like storylines and like storyboarding and shit. So him and I work together super well because he'll come up to me with this crazy ass idea, and then I'm like, okay, like how can we make this work, and like what are the little things that we need to do it, and him and I just bounce off ideas super well together. So yeah, it was really just like another day of like Braxton and I just fucking brainstorming. And basically that video is like the theme of the song is like all this bullshit that's going on around me and like what I do to keep my inner peace. And so how we wanted and so how we wanted to visually depict that was the bullshit going on around me was my two homies, Skates and Cesar, were in the video. They're wearing all black. They're like symbolic for like mental health stuff. So they're symbolic for like anxiety and depression. So if you go back in the video, Cesar is like all slumped and sluggish, and he's very detached, and he's symbolic for depression. And then Skates is tapping his foot, he's rubbing his neck, he's looking out the window, he's symbolic for anxiety. And they're in every single shot, and they're in the background of every single shot, like symbolic for like mental illness or mental health, like really like follow me through my life and shit. So that was huge. And then also another way of incorporating the theme of like all the bullshit going on around me, but me trying to keep the inner peace, was just trying to shoot this video in the most like funky and weird way. That's why like a lot of the shots, there's like a shot where I'm like going through the neighborhood and it looks like I'm just like floating through it.
Like the angles, yeah.
Yeah, the angles are, it's like a lot of like, not necessarily optic illusions, but like up that lane of just like, you know, different style of shooting and stuff. So that whole process was like super fucking fun, and we brought in a lot of dope people to shoot that video, and it was really fun shooting it. So that's always huge for me too, is like making sure the process is like just as fun as the outcome.
When you approach like a concept for a video like that, how much of the treatment are you writing actively, or like how much of that are you bringing to Braxton, or is he kind of bouncing ideas off you, or are you doing it collaboratively?
It's very much more him, of course. Like he's the director, editor, colorist. Like so much, he's storyboarding it. He's figuring out all this stuff. But I'm definitely obviously like it's collaborative in the sense of like ideas and then like preparation. So since it's just him and I, and we don't have big budgets, I'm not signed to a label. We don't have $10,000 to go shoot a video and hire a stylist and hire a producer and hire a this and that and hire a DP and all this stuff. It's a lot of it just comes down to us, and like the responsibility's on us. So it's like when it comes to like finding props and like, you know, finding locations, it's just him and I like going out there and doing it together. So he's really he's the GOAT though. He's super fucking talented.
Do you think that like being signed to a label would help a lot to that? Like, have you been approached and given those opportunities yet?
I mean, like I've had different people approach me on different things, like when it comes to like being a manager or like yada yada yada, but nothing that has like felt as like, oh, like I need to do this. Like nothing that...
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to tie myself down to a contract that, you know, is really not in my best interest. So
I think it's more and more artists are starting to realize and value their independence more, because it's pretty apparent at this point that if somebody has 5 million fans and they're signed to Columbia, and then somebody has 5 million fans and they're independent, the independent person has the ability and the opportunity to make 10 times the amount of money and grow 10 times as much as the person who's signed to a label, because there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, they have nothing to break through.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would love to be signed to a label eventually. That'd be a huge fucking help with marketing, PR, management, like all that type of shit, having a budget for these things. But at the same time, I love the freedom of being an independent artist, and I'm definitely trying to stay as independent for, you know, as much as my career as possible.
Yeah.
So
what about recently, like as of late, how often are you in the studio? Are you working on new music?
So a big part of the studio stuff is like I have to pay for my studio time, and
that's such a grind, man.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like sometimes I genuinely like can't afford to be in the studio as much as I want. And of course I have like millions of homies who are like, yo, just like come record like demos at the crib. But I usually like to, like, my whole thing when it comes to recording is, like, I usually use one of the first takes that I do of the song, and I don't overthink the process, like, a lot. Like, I'm not sitting there doing fucking 6-hour studio sessions. One, because of money, but two, because, like, I don't want to do too much, and I like to keep it, like, what it was, like, raw at its core. So usually I'll just go in there once I have the whole complete idea, and I like usually using, like, I have what my engineer would call demo-itis, which is, like, the first version of the song is usually my favorite, and that could be because that was just the best energy that was there the day of, or maybe that's me, you know, having that first track and then listening to it for weeks on weeks and weeks and falling in love with it. So when we do the second version of it, it's like, oh, but it's not like the first one. So because of that, I usually like to wait to record until, like, I'm in the prime environment to record. So that's why, like, I don't do demos as much. But as far as working on music, like, I'm always writing. Like, I'm writing not every day, but, like, pretty much on, like, an almost every single day basis. And if not writing, then I'm, like, thinking of ideas, or I'm trying to connect with someone else, or I'm just, like, doing, like, I do something career oriented, like, every single day for sure. Whatever the fuck that was.
That scared the shit out of me. You said you're actively working on an album. Do you have a timeline for when that's going to drop? Do you have any plans, or are you just kind of taking it as it is?
Dude, that shit was supposed to already be out. That shit was, I think I mentioned in our DMs that shit was supposed to be out by the time I came out here.
Oh, I think you did. Yeah, I remember.
So that was the idea, because this shit's been done for a while. It was, like, my quarantine album. And it's just gone through, like, a lot of different stages and a lot of different phases, because a lot of it was, like, financial reasons where, like, I didn't have the money to go do certain stuff. A lot of it was personal stuff where, like, I was super depressed, so, like, I didn't even want to work on it. And so it's gone through a lot of different renditions, I guess. But this shit's finally coming out now. Do I have an exact date for it? No. Do I have a timeline? No. Just because the last podcast I said it was going to be out in July. Yeah. So I don't even want this to be another podcast where I'm September, and then September comes around and it's not out. But ideally, yeah, coming out as soon as possible. Next couple months, for sure. Well,
I'm pumped to hear it, man. And thank you for sitting down for this. It was a cool-ass conversation. Went a lot of ways. And, P, I believe in your vision. I can just... You breed genuineness, man. And I'm excited to see where you go, and excited to see where the future of your artistry takes you, man.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate it, man. This was fun. I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, responding to the DM, making this happen, you know what I'm saying? Sure. It's Pariah Pete, a.k.a. Pariah like Mariah with a P. Coming at you live, you know what I'm saying? Come to a city near you soon.
Hey, we'll do it again soon.
Hell yeah.
Music matters, baby.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.